Hi, and welcome to our podcast. This is Welcome to Livingston, and my name is Don Putkela.
And I'm Angela Putkela.
We just wanted to welcome you here today to our podcast. We have a really interesting episode in front of us today. You know, usually we sit down and we talk to local businesses, but today what we're doing is we're going to pull back a little bit and we're going to talk about real estate. And what we wanted to talk to you about today was buying and selling at the same time and some of the strategies that are involved in that.
Absolutely. It gets a little more complicated to do both of them. You know, sometimes someone is just selling or just buying, but when it happens to happen both together, that's where you really need some extra strategies.
Well, I think that as a buyer and seller at the same time, you own a house right now. This can be a stressful situation that you have no idea where to start, and you have no idea how many different, I don't want to say hurdles, but how many different things could be in front of you.
Right, different avenues. There's different factors involved, particularly right now.
So what makes it so unique right now?
Because we are in such an extreme seller's market, right? Where at one point it was hard to sell a home. Nowadays, not at all. It's hard to buy a home now.
Right. And by a seller's market, we mean that the demand is so high and you are competing with a lot of different buyers.
Right. That many of our listings, what we notice are just multiple offers. And even the listings that we are putting offers in for our buyers, it's always a competitive situation. You know, it used to be where maybe for just a super hot listing, there would be competition. But nowadays, it's everything.
Yes. So I think the place to start off at is just talking about that aspect. When we sit down with a client and we're walking through their home and we're doing a listing appointment, we have an in-depth conversation about where it is you want to go and what resources we have to try to get you there.
Right. Because everybody's different. Sometimes someone wants to downsize into a condo. Sometimes they want to move to a different area. Sometimes they want just to have more wiggle room and not be so close to neighbors.
Right. So I would say the first step to that is sitting down and talking about and having a plan. But the biggest, I don't want to say hurdle here, but the biggest point that we talk about is what type of funding you have.
Access to,
right? Because that lays the groundwork for everything else, right?
Yes. It's a critical part of things.
Right. So to all you people out there that if you're sitting down and you're talking about, I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to go into a new house, the first thing we need to figure out is, do you need to sell your house before you can buy a new one? Meaning, are you going to be able to hold two mortgages, or if
for a very short period of time?
Yes, a very short period of time. But this is an important aspect to it, right?
Right. In terms of if you literally can. You know, we coordinate it so you don't have to. But in terms of what you're able to get pre-approved for, and talking to a good local lender is the perfect place to start.
Okay, so let's start with contingent or non-contingent.
Yes. What are those terms?
Okay, so if you are a non-contingent buyer, that means that you do not have to sell your current home before you purchase a new home, meaning you can hold both mortgages at the same time, or maybe you've completely paid off your house and you can go buy a new house without having to sell your home, meaning you're going to be in a position of power that you can be picky and choosy and take your time and put a good offer together and then purchase that house, move into that house, or at least purchase the house and be pending to purchase the house, and then put the house up on the market on your own timing.
Right.
So it takes a lot of stress out of the situation.
In which case, that's when we coordinate it, so you don't have to pay 2 house payments at all.
Right.
So even though we've said that that's for approval purposes only, but in terms of what's best for you, in some case, that's what a person's priority is. Other cases, they want to actually physically move out of their house and then put it up on the market.
Well, for some people, that's stressful. You walk through the house and you're talking to them and they say, you know, I don't want to deal with people walking through my house. I'm stressed about packing up all my boxes. I'm stressed about moving. And then we can say, well, let's take that off the table. let's get you a house. Let's get you into the house. And then you can empty out the house you're currently in, make a few of the repairs that you need. We can come in and get it a deep cleaning, take the photos, and list it at that point.
Right. But everybody's different.
Everyone is 100% different.
So it does get interesting. So tell me more about, if that was non-contingent, what is contingent?
Contingent is when you have to sell your house first, meaning you, the bank or the local lender says, okay, we will approve you for this loan contingent on you paying off your first mortgage first, meaning you're going to sell your house. And then on the same day, you sell your house and then you buy the new house. So you never have two mortgages at the same time.
Right. But the disadvantage there is for the seller that's selling you their home. Their sale is contingent upon a successful close of yours. So that adds an extra element to it. So when it is competitive situations, you're going to need to offer some incentive to that seller to pick your offer versus someone else's that they don't have to worry about that for.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
So that's something worth keeping in mind. But again, each situation is very different.
Well, what I wanted to look through here is mainly to talk about if you are a person that's selling a house and buying a house at the same time, having a plan.
Yes.
Sitting down and working through the plan and letting clients know, letting that prospective person out there know that we can put a plan in place that meets all of their needs and takes that stress off of their plate so that we can coordinate that, because there's a lot of different strategies involved there. I think what a lot of people out there are hearing right now is the market is really tight. And as a buyer, you're having to write multiple offers right now, and that it's very competitive to get an offer accepted. So if you're selling your house and you need to sell your house, how do you overcome that obstacle?
Fair. So what are some strategies?
Just throw that right on my plate. No,
Sure.
there's a lot of strategies we can use. I think the first one is being upfront and get your house 99% ready to list. Obviously the best and easiest strategy is someone to say, you know what, I'm okay putting my house on the market. And if the dates don't line up exactly, I have someplace to go in the interim. You don't want to have to move twice, but having that ability to move twice kind of takes a little bit of that stress off. Now, That's not the right strategy for everybody, but for some people, that's an option. We have some clients right now that's an option. Maybe you're moving back in with your parents for a couple weeks, or you're taking an extended vacation, or you have a place up north that you're going to go to for a month.
Right, exactly. Yep, everybody's different in their resources and their priorities.
Right, yeah, but number one is get that house ready, get the photos taken, get yourself 99% ready to list, so that while you're out looking at homes, if you find a house that fits all of your needs that you want to put an offer on, you're ready to pull the trigger, because there's nothing worse than, oh, I saw this house. I want to go see it today. I love this house. I want to put an offer in. You haven't talked to the lender yet. You haven't gotten your house ready. You haven't got the pictures taken. And there's too many unknowns in front of you to be able to make that successful offer.
So what I'm hearing is that people should do all that they can to prepare.
Yes.
So prepare their finances, have the pre-approval in order, prepare the house to be ready to sell, whether you're contingent or not. If you plan to move, if you plan to sell, there's steps that need to be taken now.
Well, I think you need to talk to an agent early.
Right.
I think having that conversation, if you're out there surfing realtor.com and Zillow, and you're one of those people who's like, oh, well, if the perfect house pops up, well, then I'll want to do something about it. Well, don't wait for the perfect house to pop up. Sit down with your agent of choice, have that conversation, put a plan in place. So if that perfect house pops up, you're prepared.
Yes. So you stand a chance to be able to secure it and for your process to go as smoothly as possible.
Right. And to have an in-depth discussion with your lender, first off, preferably a local lender.
Yes.
Preferably someone that if you wanted to, you could walk into the office, sit down with them and talk about your finances frankly, and they'll be able to say, you have option A, option B, and option C in front of you. And these are the pros and cons of each option and which one works best for the situation that you're in. And then having that discussion with your agent to say, okay, this is what my lending is. This is what my situation is. Now, how do the three of us work together to make sure that that process is smooth and work together to make sure that you can put in the strongest offer possible? Because what we're going to talk about in a little bit is how do you put together a strong offer that has a chance of being accepted, because being contingent is a hurdle that you need to overcome.
Fair. It is.
Yep.
But it's not insurmountable by any
No.
means.
Oh gosh, no. No. You just need to be flexible, right?
Right. Well, and you need to have that plan. By having that plan and everybody knowing how can we make this happen for you, then that allows us professionals to all do our jobs.
Right. So how do you prioritize that?
Goodness. Well, I think with education,
Okay.
right? In knowing what things are available, right? In terms of recasting is a powerful tool that I feel like so few people even know about.
Well, that's a good thing. What is recasting?
Okay, recasting is when you can put a large lump sum amount onto a mortgage. So say you buy a new house, you put 5% down. In a perfect world, you want it to put 20% down. But in order to secure the home, while still having your current mortgage, you put down 5%. We help you sell that house, and then you come away with those proceeds. Well, the recast part is taking that lump sum. Maybe it's $50,000, maybe it's $100,000, maybe it's more. But then it gets applied and re-amortized. So it's not a refinance. It doesn't have those large thousands of dollars of fees involved. It's really, I think maybe $100.
150 maybe.
Yeah. And each loan allows you to do this recasting at least once.
Right.
And so all of a sudden you kind of thump down that large amount, and then it will reassess your actual payment because of the reamortization.
Right. And is there a time limit on when you're allowed to do this?
Nope, at any point during the loan. So you can do it to what my understanding is from, a month or two later to a year or two later.
And you get to keep your interest rate, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a big thing a lot of people don't know, right? It is an easy thing to do to take a lump sum and bring down that payment. And for everyone out there, that does not have to be you sold another house. You could have a windfall come in. You could get an inheritance. You could, at the end of the year, say, oh my gosh, I got a huge $20,000 bonus or what have you. And you could put that down as a one-time lump sum payment. And it's different than just making a principal payment because it re-amortizes the loan, which will bring your minimum monthly payment down.
Correct.
And that's a really good aspect for it.
So that's why education is so important. And each person's situation is different. So figuring out how to get from point A to point B, where is it that you want to go? We can offer advice on how to get there.
Okay, so you're walking into a person's house. They are looking to sell their home and buy a home.
Yes.
So now you've had that conversation. They're saying, okay, I'm going to sit down with the lender. I'm going to start thinking about that process. But their home's nowhere near ready to sell.
Right.
So they're going to be in a contingent situation, but their home's not ready to sell. What's that conversation look like?
Well, it's really trying to manage expectations and to understand what kind of timeline that we're talking here and how critically important it is to get the home prepared to be able to sell.
Right. No, I get exactly what you're saying, because what we do is we walk through the house. Mm-hmm. We give them a list of, hey, these are the things you need to get ready for.
Punch list. Mm-hmm.
Punch list is very important. And sometimes we talk to them about the fact that they're going to be moving at some point here. So why don't we start getting ready for that?
Right.
So, sometimes it's a storage unit.
Yep.
Sometimes it's, what's popular right now? Pods.
Yeah, I've been noticing that. Yeah.
I like the pod aspect. For those of you out there that have seen the pods and don't know exactly how they work, I love the pod because unlike a storage unit, you only have to pack the stuff in and out once. You're not getting a U-Haul to take it to the storage unit, to put it in the storage unit, to get a U-Haul to take it out of the storage unit, to bring it to your new house. They drop the container in your driveway. It's there for 3 or 4 days. You put all the stuff in the container, and then they store the container for you till they bring it to your new house. It's, sometimes a little bit pricier, but when we work into the fact of the U-Haul and everything else, I think the convenience factor of it
Outweighs.
100% outweighs it. Not that a storage unit can't be a good idea. If I walk into a house and I can't even walk through the basement, or the garage is already completely full and they haven't decluttered yet, we're having conversations about storage units and donations.
And dumpsters?
Dumpsters.
Potentially?
No, potentially dumpsters.
Yeah.
What I learned early in this business is it doesn't matter the size of your house. You will eventually fill it up.
Yes.
You will find when you start to clean out your house, you will be amazed at the things you find in your house that you didn't know were in your house anymore and the areas of your house that you filled up.
How many clients do we have that have boxes that went with them from each move? If you didn't open it up in the house that you're in, before you get to the next house, you probably don't need to move it.
We had clients that literally talked about the fact that their items in these boxes had been in 4 states.
Yeah.
And they have never opened the boxes. You don't need that box anymore. Sometimes they don't even know what's in the box.
Yeah.
It's
amazing.
If it's a memento, if it's China, if it's other things, I understand it. Yeah. If you're staring at a box and it's like, these are mystery boxes.
Mystery boxes.
They've got stains on them from, God knows, water damage, other things.
And I'm guilty of not wanting to let things go myself. I'll own that. It's hard, because what's really important to you in one moment, what you don't realize as the years wear on really isn't as important. And even some of those mementos of the things for the children, when we pull those out, it was so important because, he drew this and I remember as he presented, well, now he's a teenager and it's not as critically important.
Or the ones that we pull out that they didn't put the names on it. We don't even know which kid it was.
Yeah, that's true.
There is
so
that.
Those mementos really, you kind of have to pick and choose.
But I think going through that stuff is cathartic.
Yes.
I think there's a very valuable aspect to it. And, you may be looking for some tax donations.
That's true.
There's some organizations that not only do they really need your donations, but you get the benefit of getting if you're itemizing, getting the tax donations as well. So it's kind of serving a double duty where you're able to declutter and get the stuff out of your house to get your home ready to sell. Mm-hmm. You're able to donate to a good cause, and you're able to save a little bit of money.
Well, if you make up your mind that this is the year that you're moving, then even if you don't normally itemize, have that in your head that you're going to plan to for this year. Right. And so that's where the donations come in. That's where closing costs become deductible too, I believe.
Part of them. Yep. Talk to your accountant.
Yes. Talk to your accountant. But it's good to be prepared with things,
Yep.
So how about in terms of securing the home you want to move into, and what would you say about the home search these days?
I think you have to be fast. You have to be decisive. You have to be proactive.
So there's no, I want to sleep on it and think about it. And
maybe for one night, but not really.
Okay.
I think that to go look at you need an agent that's proactive.
Yes.
The agent will let you know if you can sleep on it, if the agent has done their homework.
Yes.
Okay. They're calling the other agent. They're finding out whether there's offers on the house. They know the local area. They know what the houses are worth, and they know how fast houses in certain price points or in certain neighborhoods are going. Yeah. So being able to have that expert that's giving you that expert advice allows you to know with confidence, if they tell you, no, we can't sleep on this, we have to put in an offer now if you want the house, then you have to trust that advice. If they say, this is a situation where we have till Sunday, I'll have 8 clients ask me about it, and I'll say, well, let me make a phone call. Or I'll know before I go in, and they'll say, well, I kind of like the house. And I'll say, well, it's highest and best offer by Sunday at 5 p.m. And we're seeing it Saturday morning. So you have a little bit of time to think about it, but then we talk about the aspects of what that offer needs to have, because when we're getting into that situation, now we're talking about how many levers do we need to pull to be able to secure this house,
Right.
because it's not just price. You're talking about the price of the home. You're talking about occupancy. We're seeing a lot of people need 15, 30, 45 days after closing right now. Do we have that flexibility that we can offer that on our offer for our buyers?
Right. Do you have enough cash behind the scenes to cover an appraisal
Appraisal gap or appraisal assurance. Yeah. So an appraisal gap or assurance, for all those out there, if you put an offer in, say you put an offer in at $400,000 and the home appraised at $395,000. If you had a $10,000 appraisal assurance, you would cover that $5,000 gap with cash, because the lender is only going to approve you for a mortgage of a total of $395,000 minus your down payment.
So you're still spending the same amount as you had agreed to for the house. It's just you're not able to finance as much of it.
Right. So if you're flush with cash or you had a large down payment, maybe you can reduce your down payment by a little bit. So if you have that flexibility, we're looking at that saying, okay, how much cash do you have available? How do those numbers line up to be able to offer an assurance?
Right.
And again, that's where the agent comes in to say, yes, the house is worth this amount. Yes, this is going to be a good investment for you.
Right. Prices we are expecting to increase again this year.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
We're going to see a nice, healthy increase this summer.
So, and because of all these appraisal assurances, these houses are closing at these higher amounts.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, there's other aspects into it. Some people are waiving inspections. I do not advise that.
Right.
Sometimes they're doing pass fail on inspections. Looking at the quality of the house, we can talk about that on a case-by-case basis.
Very true. But coming back to that appraisal assurance, in some cases, the house appraises just fine and extra cash is not needed whatsoever. But because that buyer was willing to guarantee X number of dollars to that seller, no matter how the appraisal turned out, that's probably what helped them secure the home. So as we talk about bidding wars or whatnot, it's not always the top price that gets selected. Maybe it's the person with the top appraisal assurance.
Well, yeah, no, there's other things. What you're trying to do is you're trying to reduce the potential stress of the seller. You're trying to take unknowns off the table.
Yes.
So when you're looking at that, what are the unknowns? Okay. So one of the things that we do that a lot of agents don't do, that I'm shocked at this, is I pick up the phone. I call the agent on the other side and I say,
a real conversation,
hey,
not a text, right?
Hi, we just showed your house. I have clients that are interested in the house. What's important to your seller? Yeah. Maybe it's that they want a really quick closing. Maybe it's that they need 60 days occupancy after close. Maybe it's that, they had such a hard time selling their house last time. They're just looking for a clean offer. They're just looking for it to be simple.
We had a beautiful house late last year that we spotted right away for some of our clients that had been looking for a good, I think, 1.5, 2 years. And it was just the right house, but it was juicy. And we knew that it potentially could get to a bidding war, but we hopped right on it, got them out there. They loved it, talked to the agent. And basically, the sellers were already stressed out over how many showings, and they didn't want a bidding war. They just wanted clean and they wanted the timing that they wanted. And so our people put in an offer right away and it was accepted before it ever even got to sort of a bidding war situation.
Right. And that's where you find out that in some cases speed is a factor.
Yes.
Right? But that factor, the important thing to understand as a client, as a buyer or a seller, is those factors change. And for every single transaction, there's going to be unique factors, and it's our job to figure out what those are.
Right.
Right?
It is. Well, and by having those relationships, that really helps and makes a difference.
No, local relationships are really important, and picking up that phone and talking to our agents. And what better thing to call another agent and have them not pick up the phone and say, hi, this is so-and-so from Keller Williams or from, Remax or to pick up the phone and instead say, "Hi, Don, how's it going?" Because my name's already in their phone.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Well, and especially because we've done transactions with so many different people, and us have a lot of other realtors around here. There's a lot of great realtors that
there's
people
so
can
many
use, and
wonderful agents in Livingston County. And I have such faith in so many of them in good relationships.
yeah, absolutely, and that helps really get the job done, right?
Yep.
So know that in terms of being a buyer, having that agent by your side, it used to be that you needed the realtor to find the house, right? And
Which is still sometimes the case.
yeah, this is true. That's
Yes.
fair. But I think now more than ever, you need a good realtor to get you the house, right?
No, securing the house, you need a good agent that knows what they're doing to do that. And not only knows what they're doing, knows what questions to ask.
Right. Can be able to ascertain, is it time? Is it money? Is it what's going to get the job done?
Well, I would say that a transaction has never been a straight line, but there are so many more curves and twists in a transaction than there ever was before because of this aspect of people wanting to upsize or downsize or being contingent or non-contingent, of there being not enough inventory out there. In fact, I don't want to say that there's not enough inventory. I think it's the speed of the transaction.
Yes.
I think that's the issue right now of, every week there's a new batch of homes and it's go, go, go.
Very true. Because when we've looked at the numbers, some people have said, oh, it's an inventory shortage. But what's been amazing is that we're still selling the same number of homes.
Right. I mean, every once in a
while
while it's a tiny bit up or it's a tiny bit down, but it's not this huge shortage of homes. It's that there's so many buyers that it's going so quickly
before you even
right.
Snap
and we're also, Southeast Michigan, Livingston County. Since this is Welcome to Livingston County is growing, and there's a lot of people coming into the county from outside of the county, which means that there's a higher demand for those quality homes. Because one of the things that I saw, the biggest thing that happened during the pandemic, is people's priorities in their housing changed. Because they could work from home, where they lived, that location being close to commute wasn't as big a factor. So now if you're working in downtown Detroit, but you only have to go in once a month, well, why wouldn't you live in Livingston County? We had a client last year move to Traverse City.
Yeah.
Because he only had to go in once a quarter.
Yes.
So he's like, I can drive down to
home.
Southeast Michigan 4 times a year and get a hotel room for the night.
Yep.
To get the house that I want. So
it's a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle. And then everyone needed an office.
Yes.
The card table in the living room or in the basement didn't work anymore.
Right.
So they changed.
That makes a difference. That's been another interesting thing too, is that people wanted that open concept, right? So before the pandemic, that was such a big deal. And then once people were trapped in their houses and they had kids and it was just the open concept where everybody heard everything all the time, we are finding where some people and younger people do want to have a separate office with doors and or other separate areas. But people are definitely noticing now how important living space is.
Yes.
That finished basement and all those other things.
Yep. In-ground pools.
Yes.
Play structures in the backyard, fences for your dogs. I mean, there's so many things that people changed what they wanted because now instead of just spending a couple hours a day at their house, they were spending 24/7.
We're finally living at their home.
Yes. And they finally realized what it is they wanted or didn't want in a house that they'd never thought about before.
And that's what's caused people to move that maybe would never have moved otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess the next question I have here real quick is, we started off talking about buying and selling at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a big, important aspect. It's a big thing that's happening right now. A lot of people, that's what they need to do. Mm-hmm. Why is the agent that you use so critical?
Because there's so much coordination that has to happen between those two things. And for it to go as smoothly as possible and for that communication to be there. So that way you know where you're at in the transaction and you know why it's going as smoothly as it is and what to expect from the next turn.
There's a lot of balls in the air, right?
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of juggling between
Yeah.
all the different
I would
transactions.
say so.
There's a lot to coordinate. There's a lot of timelines to put into place. People don't understand how important the timelines are in terms of, we don't want people to stress out. We don't want people to have to move twice. We want this smooth aspect to roll through it. I want our clients to feel that the transaction was so easy because we take on all of that stress. We make sure that all those things happen behind the scenes, so it just rolls smoothly from one step to the end. So they get to the closing table and they say, wow, that was so simple.
It just turned right out, Yeah. Sometimes we make it look easy, right?
Yep.
But that's what a good agent will get you. If you decide to do it yourself, more power to you. But I think maybe realtors make it look easy, and there's so much more to it.
I think one of the most important things to think about is it's not your agent's goals, it's your goals.
Right.
We tailor each transaction to what our clients want, not what we want.
Right. What's important to them?
What's important to them? What timelines are important to them? What are those stress points that they foresee being an issue? Because everyone's personalities are different. So what some people want to know every aspect of everything that's happening every day. And other ones are like,
just call me. To know.
Call me when I need to show up and sign, because they don't want that stuff. So having that conversation and understanding that is important.
Well, and I also like getting ahead of things before they become problems.
Exactly.
I had somebody the other day talk about some shelves that they really liked, and they said, well, I can leave them. That's not important. Or curtains, for that matter. That happens too. And we've seen so many times where in the 11th hour, the person says, oh no, I really want to keep them. But at this point, you're under contract. It goes with the house. So let's just exclude them from the beginning, and let's identify things that could be problems before they become problems.
Yes.
And if you change your mind, it's easy enough to do, but not if you haven't excluded them.
Right. Because I love when my clients call me and they're asking me questions, and all those questions are important, but it's better that if I've anticipated those questions and called them up first to discuss them.
Exactly. But we are always available and
100%.
able to answer questions, because, a lot of people haven't moved in a long time, and I could see where this would be a daunting
that's
situation.
one of the things you talk to people. You ask them, when's the last time you move? Because first-time seller is a thing.
It is. Nobody ever talks about it.
Right. It's just as important as a first-time buyer.
They don't necessarily know how it works from that end.
Or they've forgotten, or it's changed.
Yes.
If you've been in your house 35 years, you're a first-time buyer seller.
Yeah.
I don't care that you did it in 1982. I'm going to talk to you about all the ways that it's changed and remind you of how this is going to go.
Right. And
walk them through.
Exactly.
Yep.
That good agent will be there for you through the process.
Right. Well, before we wrap up today, was there anything else you wanted to click on real quick? Because a half hour went extremely fast.
It did. I hope we offered some insight to some people that might be looking to do this. Some people to offer above asking. That's been a big problem for people. But know that when you go to sell your home, you'll get above asking too. So it all comes out in the wash.
Right. Well, having that conversation with your agent and talking frankly about the numbers, what resources are available to you to be able to put the best offer possible, and then being able to craft that offer where you're comfortable with all the numbers, and at the same time you put in the strongest offer possible to give yourself the best chance to get into that house.
So that way you know that you've done everything you could. And if you don't get it, then that's okay.
That's okay. There's a new one coming in next week.
Yeah.
And it's always there. I do talk to my clients and I say, if you are going to be, if you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and be sick to your stomach that you lost the house, well, then we're going to have a different conversation than if you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and be like, this is the number I wanted to put in, and I'm okay if this doesn't happen because this is what I feel comfortable with. It's all about, what is your risk tolerance? What are you comfortable with? And how do we as agents facilitate that?
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely. So we hope that this offered some insight to you. And if you'd like to know for your particular situation, please contact us. We would love to sit down with you and just help you put a plan in place. And
we love walking through a home, letting you know what your house is worth, what your equity is. We are never pressure oriented. We just like helping people out and, having those conversations to put you in the best possible situation. So, thank you for listening today. Please check us out on our podcast. Listen to our other episodes. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Sounder, any place that you find your podcasts. Check us out at welcometolivingston.com. You can catch our podcast there or all the other aspects of our real estate business. So thank you so much, and welcome to Livingston.